All right, hi everyone, and welcome to Black STEM Futures. This is the final talk in our series for this academic year, and we're joined by Krystina Pearson-Rampeeaaree, who is a chartered engineer and aerospace engineer. So she'll be talking about her career and her work. I think everyone who's here has joined us before, but on the off chance that you've not, I'll say firstly that all the events that we run are here to help us explore the science of genomics and more broadly STEM and what it means for our lives. So we would love for you to ask questions for Krystina tonight about her work and her career, but we ask that you do so respectfully for Krystina and for everyone else that's sharing the space. So I'll be moderating the space tonight to make sure it's safe and inclusive for everyone. If you need to get in contact with us, you obviously can't use your cameras or your microphones this evening, but you can use the chat box or the Q&A to either ask us a question or let us know if you need any help with anything in the webinar. We've also got closed captions, so if you press the little CC box at the bottom of the screen, some little subtitles should pop up. You can move them around, so if they're in the way, you can move them or you can get rid of them if you don't want them at all. That's everything I was going to say. If you're here as part of our Black STEM Futures program, which I think everyone is, make sure you log this under your Shaping Your Future hours as well, so that they can count towards your award. But I'll stop there and I'll hand over to Krystina to tell us about her work and her career.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'll just share my screen. Hopefully this will go smoothly. Yeah, has that all worked?
Yeah, that was great.
Great, thank you. So hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Krystina Pearson-Rampeeaaree, and I'm a Senior Flight Systems Engineer at BAE Systems. So I just wanted to start off today just talking about engineering in general. So engineers use maths, science, especially physics, and other subjects as well, such as design and technology, computing, electronics, construction, and basically develop solutions to problems and turn ideas into reality. So I was wondering if you wanted to put in the chat kind of what words do you associate with engineering? When you think of engineering, what comes to mind? So if you want to type anything in the chat.
Someone's put machines, which is, I think, definitely what I would think of as well.
Any more?
That's the only suggestion at the moment. But I think, yeah, machines is quite a broad.
Yeah. So machines, yeah, that is applicable to certain engineering sectors. So basically, engineering is everywhere in all sectors. So pretty much everything has been engineered. And when I mentioned sectors, basically there are things like software, aerospace, energy, chemical, civil, electrical, and they're just to name a few types of different sectors of engineering. So could be working with machines, may not necessarily be with machines. I think that's the beauty of engineering. It's all over the world. You can work in modern offices, high-tech research facilities, labs, or out in the field, for example, like in a stadium, hospitals, underground or at sea. So there are lots of different opportunities in engineering, and that's one of the things that I love about it. And as well as I get to be creative, hands-on, and innovative, and these are the reasons why I love engineering. So I just wanted to go a little bit briefly into the engineering life cycle. So this is kind of the general cycle that most engineered solutions follow. It can be tailored to suit, so it's not a one-size-fits-all process, but and as well, engineering projects can differ in scope and depth. So that might be why sometimes we need to change the process to tailor it to fit. But this is the kind of general process that we follow. So I'll just show this. So these are the different stages of the engineering life cycle that we generally follow. Some stages may be longer than others, but it generally follows this pattern. So it begins with customer requirements. So what is the problem, or what does the customer want? And then we develop a set of possible solutions to that requirement. So that is the concept phase. We then document those requirements into what's called a specification, which can be the physical or functional needs that that product or design needs to meet safely. So that would be the definition phase. We then go into the design phase where we make design drawings of the chosen concept, maybe models. Then test plans may be written for how you plan to prove that the concept meets the requirements that you were given by the customer. And then we go into the build stage. So this involves building something to test. So you could build something physical, or you could build something in a computer model. But this is the kind of, it takes into account any tools that you might need as well. So if you're building a phone, you might need a charger. So there are different aspects that's not just the products that you have to think about. Maybe a trolley for moving around a big part if you can't carry it. So there are different aspects that you need to consider as well. And then we go into the test phase. So we can do computer testing or physical testing. And this is where you test to make sure that your product or design will meet the kind of requirements that you need it to. A lot of computer testing up front might save time, but it might not necessarily give you the real world situation testing that you need. So you may need to check that your computer results are accurate. So that's one thing to think about when you're thinking of computer testing or physical. And then the next stage is operation. So this is where you give the completed product to the customer uses the product, and then it may require changes in the future. For example, if there's problems in service, or if there's any changes in regulations that are picked up while it's in use. And then we finish off with the last stage, which is the disposal stage. So when the product reaches the end of its life, it's not required anymore, and this is where it's either destroyed, reused, or stored away. A lot of the time this is a legal obligation that you have to abide by, and there are regulations in place for the disposal of products, and this will be considered early in the contract, so it's designed with disposal in mind. So that's just a kind of general overview of the engineering life cycle that we follow as engineers. So in terms of my career journey, when I was at school, I really enjoyed art and maths and the more mechanical side of physics. So I was already leaning towards engineering when I was in school, but I'd only really considered mechanical engineering, so I wasn't really aware of all the other sectors that I mentioned earlier. For my A-levels, I did physics, maths, and chemistry. It was only really when I went to an air show with my family, so these are where these photos are from that day. I went to the Dartmouth Regatta air show during the summer holidays, and I just remember seeing these jets flying over, the roar I was hearing. I saw the red arrows and the formations they were flying, and that was when I knew that I wanted to be part of the aerospace industry, and that was the day. So I began to look at aerospace engineering degrees. I didn't really think about apprenticeships at this stage, and when I was at school it wasn't really discussed as an option or a route to take. It was kind of a given that the next step would be university, and that was the reason why I followed that route. So I spent 4 years at the University of the West of England and completed a master's degree in aerospace systems engineering. My first engineering job after university was as a technical design engineer for a company that's called MGR Foam Techs. So MGR Foam Techs is a manufacturer of advanced passenger upholstery for cabin seating, so your business class, first class seating, and they're a company based in Oxfordshire. So my role involved designing novel, new interiors for these suites on aircraft such as Air France, American Airlines, Etihad, and more. So it was really fun because it's the seats that I never get to sit on when I fly. So it was really fun being able to see them and test them out. And I was able to lead projects, represent the company at design reviews with customers, which took place internationally. So I got to go to America, I got to go to France. It was really fun. At these reviews, customers would look at a mock-up which was based upon their specification. And then any comments or feedback would then be taken forward and actioned following the review before we went into production. So this would save any issues later on. Safety was also an important aspect of the work that I did at MGR Foam Techs, as there are regulations in place that the products would need to meet. For example, the materials had to meet fire regulations, so they would have to be self-extinguishable within a certain amount of time, and that obviously was a critical element of safety. So it was a really great starter role for me, and I learned a lot and got to take the lead on many of the projects, which was really good for my learning. So after MGR Foam Techs, I then started working at BAE Systems, where I've worked for 7 years now as a flight systems engineer on various aircraft. So BAE Systems is a global defence and security company working across air, land, sea, cyber, artificial intelligence, security domains, so lots of different domains globally. So they've got sites all over the world, and I'm based in the north of England. So as a flight systems engineer, I design and develop parts that go into systems. So I would describe these systems as like the organs or the muscles of the aircraft and help it fly safely through its mission. So some examples of some flight systems would be your fuel system, flight controls, landing gear. One of the systems I've had the chance to work on is pilot clothing. So all important systems. I've had the opportunity to work on various fast jets, various flight systems, providing design solutions across the full engineering life cycle that I mentioned earlier, from concept through to development, qualification and testing, and supporting once in service as well. So this has been great for me because it means I never get bored, because I've always been working on different aspects of the life cycle, and it's been really interesting for me. The job role I'm currently working on now, I'm currently working in the Future Combat Air System team. So working on the next generation of fast jet, which is called the Tempest project. And this means that I'm researching and looking at technologies that could go onto a future fast jet. This is exciting because it's looking at the future and what is the art of the possible. So it's a different part of the life cycle for me that I've not worked in before. But again, this makes it really interesting because I'm still a flight systems engineer, but doing something completely different now to what I've done before. I became a chartered engineer last year, which was one of my goals, and I'm continuing on progressing and carrying out volunteering work as a STEM ambassador as well, which I really enjoy and helps build my development skills such as communication. And I've also set up my own small business about a year ago now, selling accessories that promote diversity in science, technology, engineering and maths. This has been really great because I get to use the skills that I've developed throughout my engineering career, such as the softer skills like organisation, planning, communication from working in teams, and I get to apply that and also develop my entrepreneurship skills. So that's something that I'm really enjoying and using my creativity side as well. So just want to finish off with a couple of career tips that I wish that I'd heard earlier on in my career, basically. So I personally struggled with confidence when I was younger, and at university and the early stage of my career, I kind of would do my work and then put my head down and not really kind of shout about my achievements. And it's something that I've always been told that I need to do more. And it was only when I returned from maternity leave in 2019 and started networking that I really started gaining confidence and started to hear about more opportunities that I could put my name out there, and that led to further opportunities. So networking is something that I really think is important. And also, the next tip would be, if there's a career that you are interested in, there may be different routes into that career. So, like, for example, my job, there are different routes, such as a degree, like my route, an apprenticeship, or a graduate scheme. So I would say don't be afraid to reach out to people who are working in the career that you're interested in and hear about their experiences of the route that they took. If you're trying to figure out where you want to go and what route you want to take. And then the last tip is something that I found really important to me, is that I would definitely recommend finding a mentor, either through a scheme. There are a few schemes out there, or asking someone. I asked a colleague if they would be my mentor after I returned to work. And this was when I was applying for my chartered engineer status. And she guided me and supported me through the application process and gave me all the support that I needed. And then I managed to achieve my goals. So I always think that it was definitely something that contributed towards me achieving that and was very helpful. So it's something that I would definitely advise. So those three things are the kind of my career tips for you. So that is everything. Any questions?
Awesome. Thanks so much, Krystina. It's always really interesting to hear how other people got into their careers, because there's so much choice out there when you're at GCSE or at A-level, and it's sometimes hard to sort of know what to pick. So if anyone has any questions for Krystina, do feel free to pop them in the chat box or in the Q&A. But I'll just wait and see if any of those come in. You spoke a bit about you went down the university route because it was sort of the one that was made the most obvious to you. Do you think if you could go back in time and do it again and knew about an apprenticeship route, do you think you would have considered that more than maybe you were able to? Most definitely. I think there's a few things that I really like about apprenticeships that I now know about that I didn't before, but there are obviously lots of different schemes, but the ones that I know about from work are that you get to have different placements. So you get to sit in different departments before you decide kind of where you want to go. And I think that's really interesting because you get to see what's there, see what you like, and then decide what you want to go into. And I think that's really good. And then the other thing is obviously not paying for a degree and being paid to work. And something else that I didn't mention before was that I actually struggled to find a job initially after university because I didn't really take any placements, any kind of work placements or industry gap year kind of thing. So I just did 4 years academically straight through. And because I didn't really have any real life experience directly after university, I did struggle initially. So that's something I would recommend as well, is to make contacts, try and get some work experience while you can, because it looks really good on your CV. And that's something you would get as part of an apprenticeship, is working and being paid at the same time to learn. Someone who I think they're currently a GCSE student has asked, do you know of any specific apprenticeships or internships that you'd recommend within sort of aerospace engineering? So I guess there are lots of different companies that do different apprenticeships. It would be up to you as to what you are looking for. I know BAE itself, where I work, offer, I think it's about maybe 26 different schemes. So there are technical schemes, there are kind of manufacturing related schemes. So it depends on the role that you kind of want to go into. So I would definitely recommend looking at different aerospace companies' websites, seeing what apprentice schemes they have there. And as well, if they're doing any kind of virtual open days, I know BAE Systems does that a lot, where you can talk to people and then find out what suits you best. Awesome. I've just popped in the chat box for anyone interested, the UK government apprenticeship website where you can sort of browse apprenticeships that are on offer. So that might be useful for anyone who's thinking ahead. You can at least see what type of stuff's out there and what type of qualifications you might need. Someone has similarly asked, for engineering, is it necessary, or would you recommend taking a design and technology GCSE?
It's not necessary. You can apply to engineering without taking design. So I didn't take design technology, but if you want to do it, it would definitely be part of qualifications needed towards an engineering degree if you wanted to take it. So again, look at the requirements that you want to apply for. But I didn't take it, so I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, it's always really good to start looking at the next sort of 2 steps ahead to sort of see, you know, if you're at GCSE now, have a look at apprenticeships or universities to help you make decisions about A-levels or other sort of next steps as well, and have a good mix of ones that you enjoy as well as the ones that you think are sort of necessary.
Yeah, chemistry for me wasn't necessary, but it was one that I enjoyed, so I decided to carry that one on.
Someone has asked, do you plan on working in commercial aircraft engineering in the future?
So the thing with engineering, and it's a question I get asked a lot actually, is like, where do you see yourself in the future? Engineering has a lot of transferable skills, so it's a lot of softer skills as well as technical skills, and it means I could go into the future in a lot of different places, which is actually a bit too much choice for me at the moment. I'm not decided where I want to go, whether I want to continue into kind of engineering management or kind of more project management, or I haven't decided, but I think I do want to stay at BA Systems, especially because I'm enjoying the Tempest project that I'm working on at the moment, which is really exciting. So I don't see myself going into commercial anytime soon.
I think that's a nice thing about lots of things, like lots of jobs in STEM, is that once you've got a qualification in STEM, it shows that you've got really good math skills, really good sort of time management, project management skills, you've got really good research skills. So you might pick one thing now and then down the line think, oh, actually this other thing's also really exciting. So it won't limit you if you...
No, definitely not. It's all open, and it's a really nice thing to have all of those possibilities and not be closed into a certain kind of specific role. And like you said, those skills are really important, and engineering is not just about those technical skills, it's also about communication, collaboration, creativity, so that's those are really good skills to show in most jobs.
What do you think is the most challenging thing you have to do in your job, or generally in your sort of sector?
So I think the challenging thing I probably have to do is, because I am looking at all different pieces of equipment in a system, if there are some things, so if I'm working at different parts of the life cycle, there can be kind of a juggle balancing everything, so workload, so I might be dealing with an in-service issue, or trying to get a project cleared for aircraft or testing, or doing something like that. So it's just balancing everything, and that comes into the organizational skills and management side of things, and ensuring that everything in all the different projects are where they need to be, and if not, how do we get it to where it needs to be? So that's the challenge.
Awesome. So if anyone's got any more questions for Krystina, those are all really great. Do pop them in the Q&A or the chat box. I guess one thing I like to sort of learn about all these different industries we get to talk about is what sort of big advancements do you see happening in the next 5 to 10 years? So if you've got GCSE or A-level students now, they might, if they chose to go into aerospace engineering, probably about 5 or 10 years before they get there. So what big things do you see or would like to see happen between now and then?
So I guess a lot of there's going to be a lot of AI. I see a lot of AI and a lot of kind of virtual advancements especially in the sectors that I'm working in. So next generation fast jet, we're looking at technologies like virtual cockpits and wearable technologies and things. So it's all very advanced and it's all cool sounding stuff. But that I see it advancing quite a lot in the next few years, and these are the kind of things that the next generation are going to be working on. And I'll be kind of on the edge of moving out of finishing my career. So that'll be the next step, and there's going to be a lot of exciting things like that. And it's really, it's really interesting to start to see these things being talked about and where we could go with it.
Awesome. Yeah, we had a talk a few months ago about how AI has been using in like cancer research and in healthcare. I think it's just one of those things that once it's up and running will be used in every industry. So again, skills around like AI, coding, data management are going to be so important, obviously in your field, but in pretty much every area of STEM. Yeah. So if you're interested in like coding or AI or anything around that, then you can almost have the pick of the jobs, I think, in about 10 years time.
And there's also like the human factor side of it all to AI and all of these new technologies that are being advanced. So that's something as well that's a consideration and quite a good field to start thinking about if you're interested in that side of it as well.
Awesome. I'll see if there's any more questions. Otherwise, something that I also like to ask people that we have on here is if you could have gone and done any other job or worked in any other sort of sector in STEM, what do you think you would have picked?
I've been asked this before, and I don't think I would not be doing engineering. I would just be doing engineering in a different form or a different sector, I think, if I wasn't doing this job, or kind of talking about engineering. So anything engineering related is what I'd be doing, I think.
That's nice that you feel like you've definitely fallen into the right area. Awesome. If there's not any more questions, I'll give it another minute to see if any more questions come in on the QA or in the chat. We'll wrap up soon. People that are watching are probably GCSE or A-level age. So if you could have given yourself at that age one piece of advice for getting started in aerospace engineering or for picking your career, what would it be?
So one tip I mentioned some tips about careers generally before, but I guess one tip for picking a career is definitely look at all the different routes, because like I said, I didn't know about apprenticeships. I didn't know about different ways into the role that I'm doing. I didn't know the role that I'm doing now existed. Back when I was at GCSE level, specifically flight systems engineer, I wouldn't have known what that was. So do a lot of research, speak to people, message people. I've had messages on LinkedIn just asking, would you give me just an overview of your career, or are you happy to do that? And I think you'll find that most people are generally quite receptive to, questions about their career journeys and experiences. So it doesn't do any harm just to ask. So don't be afraid. Research all what different companies are doing in aerospace, any schemes, graduate schemes, apprenticeships, work placements, industry placements. Look at it all, because it's what suits you best for the way in.
Awesome. In that case, we'll wrap up there. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about your career. I've definitely learned loads about what aerospace engineering is. This is the last of our speaker series for this academic year, so we'll be launching more in the summer. Remember to log this as your hours under Shaping Your Future, and there's more of these talks that you can catch up with on YouTube and on our blog. So if you want to do bits more over the summer to get up your hours, there's more available there as well. Thank you very much, Krystina, for joining us, and thank you for everyone for tuning in this evening.
Thank you for having me.